Thank you for joining us for our Red Hat coffee break today with our partner, Diebold Nixdorf. My name is Ramon Villarreal, and I am Payment Industry Global Lead in Red Hat. Joining us today, we have Dave Smith from Diebold Nixdorf. Dave, hi. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Ramon. Hi, everybody. My name's Dave Smith. I'm the head of global software engagement here at Diebold Nixdorf. My job is very much to assist our sales teams in our growth strategies around the world, introducing our new wider software portfolio to our existing customers.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. Could you please tell us a little bit more about Diebold Nixdorf and why do you think that the Red Hat partnership is important?
Sure. So at Diebold, we're traditionally a hardware engineering company. You would probably know us for creating ATMs, cash out devices globally. We have a large market share, and the market continues to be effective and growing in many areas. Some areas shrinking, obviously cash usage is lower, but other areas it's growing still. And our devices are now used for different types of purposes. Video on demand, for example, to do teller assist type services, for one thing. So to make all of our hardware operational, we also have a software division, which allows us to create greater value from our hardware. And we extend through, we offer managed services of our hardware. So we might do cash forecasting and cash reconciliation. We might go to monitoring solutions to ensure the availability of our devices, ensuring uptime is there. And then we extend further into the transaction processing of the events that are happening on our devices. So we can go from the full hardware provision all the way through to transaction processing. And then on the other side, our software is also involved into a platform which does issuer side processing, issuance. We can do instant payments, and the connectivity goes on and on. Now, for us, the important aspect is for us to be able to deploy our software effectively, dynamically, and in the best operational environments. We're asked to do. We're a mission critical service, and we're asked to do very high TPS rates. The highest TPS rate right now is running about 1200 TPS, which is a lot of transactions, and we are critical to the bank, that we are their primary customer interface. So when we're looking to deploy our services, we're looking to deploy on architecture which is resilient, operationally resilient. Obviously, we're very familiar with operational resilience regulations that are becoming more and more relevant as more and more operationally non-resilient services fail. Heathrow airports, CrowdStrike, and so on. Even today we saw Spain is struggling with a total power outage. These are bad things. No. Banks don't like that. And regulators don't like that bad thing happening. So we're looking to make our software as resilient as operationally possible. So for us to be able to do that, we need to have strategies that allow us to deploy across multiple hyperscalers. So for a little bit I missed out, our solution is cloud native. It's fully microservice. So we intend to be able to deploy anywhere where cloud native architecture is supported. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to be stuck to AWS or Oracle or Google. Any one of those companies could stop working for some reason. It could happen. So we like to be able to offer a solution that can provide 50% of its operational capability on AWS, for example, and 50% on Google, for example. So if one or other company stops working, or one side of the operation stops working, the other side will take up the slack and still offer 100% availability to our customer base. Now, for us to be able to do that, we need some commonality on the infrastructure level. And Red Hat, with their OpenShift product, that offers us that opportunity. So it's available as a service or as a product deployment on multiple platforms. So we can deploy our single application image over OpenShift on multiple hardware infrastructures. That's what we're looking at doing.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that, Dave. Now, and turning from that, and you mentioned a little bit about what's happening in terms of operational resilience and all of that, but from what is happening in the Nixdorf, we're talking about the payments market, and we are seeing a lot of change recently. But in your opinion, could you tell us a little bit more about what is happening in the market, and where is it going from now on?
Well, we do need a crystal ball, obviously, but things change very, very rapidly in
Oh, yeah.
payments. What we're seeing at the moment is it's in a lot of markets, consumer behavior is changing. So that people want to typically don't take out their wallet with them, for example. They don't want to carry a piece of plastic to be able to do a transaction. You and I are both consumers as much as anybody else. And I know I use my phone, as I suspect most everybody else does. Why wouldn't you use a phone to buy things? So, and this is what we're seeing. So there's a move to NFC, complete NFC across the board. But we're also seeing the way people pay for things. They want it to be different. So, and indeed, how storeholders want to be compensated for the goods and services they're selling. They want to have a faster, almost immediate payment. So that leads us to an account-to-account payment structure, which is becoming more and more prevalent globally. Some countries have consumed it massively. Brazil, for example, huge take-up. Europe, well advanced in the account-to-account payment area. It's all regulated and mandated now. And indeed, we're seeing the US starting that process with FedNow. They've obviously had Zelle and PayPal and other tools, but now they've got a federal solution with FedNow. And I think that will change behavior again. And as I say, I mean, things happen very quickly. The new president of the United States got a executive order to stop the use of checks from any government department. Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to have to use account-to-account payment. This is massive change in the way people use payment instruments to achieve the outcome. When we see mandated change, such as the US exec order or the usage in Europe, that's when it will be natural for consumer change to adopt new technologies very, very quickly after that. So we're seeing this change in consumer behavior driving new technologies and new ways of doing things, which have been around for a while. These aren't new technologies, but they just haven't been adopted. And I think now that the levers are becoming more and more, they're stronger. They're being forced by governments and regulators to start to use the more modern payment instruments, move away from the traditional cash or check solutions, go into electronic because it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot quicker, it's a lot more effective, and of course it's a lot more traceable if you are from an authority that wants to know what's going on. So I think that's where I think it's going at the moment. Can I look into the future and say what will happen tomorrow? I'm not sure. Will cryptocurrencies grab a hold? Yeah. Maybe not. I just don't know. These are the interesting. That's why it's so interesting to be here. It's an interesting time. Things continually move. We get new regulations more than annually. And they're different around the world. Lots of different regulators have a different thought on how to regulate, and I think that's changing the way we look at it from a global perspective. My role is global, so I see the demands coming from different channels asking for similar things, but not necessarily the same thing. So it makes life more challenging from a product delivery position, because your product has to meet all of these demands. But from a truly interest position, it's a fascinating world. Change is great. Let's keep it going. but maybe not so fast. Let's slow it down so we can actually catch up. And we will, I mean, that leads us on to the problem of legacy banking solutions, sort of how do we get those guys to move with us at this pace? Is it possible? I don't know. And maybe it ultimately the regulators need to recognize that change is hard for some organizations. It's expensive and they have budgets are tight. It's an interesting place. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what I think. So I think consumer behavior will change the way things work. I think it will all go NFC based. I think account to account will become more and more prevalent. Beyond that, very difficult to tell what happens next.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. So my question to you, Ramon, is how does Red Hat engage in this type of environment with a relatively new partner like Diebold? We obviously have a very good working relationship. How do you support us, and how do you support your customers in taking this forwards?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of different ways in which we are working in there. I mean, Red Hat traditionally has never been an organization that has a visible prevalence in the payments market. Okay, we've always worked more in the technology side, and that has always been our focus. But when you start looking at the deeper side of things, is you need to have the certain levels of reliability, performance, and scalability to basically take the applications into to deliver these new capabilities. I think and when you think about leveraging the cloud capabilities, leveraging the building a payment system that is reliable and scalable and efficient, and how do I modernize the way that I work in there, running a platform that is cloud native, that is microservices based, that is all flexible, is how do I build the supporting Kubernetes architecture. So that is one of our biggest priorities, and that is the area that we focus on. We've been doing a lot of work in different areas, as you mentioned before. Cloud native and the ability of having the same platform running across multiple cloud providers is something that we've been working for a long while, and we have presence with Azure, with AWS, with Google, with all of the clouds, even in Oracle sometimes. So we can run the same platform in Z, also in Power, in all the systems. You get the same containers platform running in all these environments, and it gives you a really high level of flexibility. There is a big connection there to portability. It's not only about running in multiple environment, it's how do I port from one environment to the other in case of an emergency. And that is another big part in which we focus on, by leveraging the same type of technology, the same code base, and even building with the same supply chains to the software. You can actually port from one environment to the other really easily. Another area that we've been focusing a lot into is around the release and the building of those environments. We have certain software that are all about, which is Ansible, which is all about automating the release and the build of those platforms, which actually helps in the portability side. So it's quite prevalent. And then the other side, taking it a little bit into the future, and I'm impressed that we haven't mentioned it until now. We've been doing recently a lot of work into the AI space, and our OpenShift AI platform is built to actually allow organizations to industrialize and integrate this into their software delivery cycle, the AI component, integrating it whilst leveraging open source capabilities. So it's all about bringing all of these technologies capabilities together in a way that the customers or the organizations that we're working with together can industrialize it, can make it more reliable, trusted, and efficient. That is the main area of focus in Red Hat, and that is why we are working with a lot of payments organization on the background, helping them actually ensure that they have these qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, thank you, and thank you for that, Dave. And thank you everybody for joining us today. We know that this is just the start of the conversation, and we'd like you to invite you to learn more about us. So if you want to know a little bit more, please check the links under this video, and feel free to reach out to us, Dave or me or whomever in the team, through email to continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us for our Red Hat coffee break today, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much, Ron. Thank you, everyone. Bye.